trial court lacked jurisdiction to hear the case on grounds that the issues involved were solely the internal affairs. The court also held that the plaintiffs had the locus standi or the right to institute the suit to protect their democratic rights and that the PDP was not denied fair hearing as it claimed in its appeal. So some PDP leaders from both sides were present at the appellate court during that judgment delivery on Monday, and we saw that it was the masonry, the faction of the PDP that went home smiling. So right now it seems that the PDP are weighing their options after this landmark judgment by the appeal court. The PDP Board of Trustees yesterday held an expanded meeting with Governors Bala Mohammed and Sheyi Makinde of Bauchi and Oyo State respectively, and members of the Tamini Turaki-led National Working Committee to evaluate the judgment and to decide on the next course of action. The meeting was attended by the chairman of the state chapters of the People's Democratic Party, lasted for more than 2-3 hours before adjourning to 11 a.m. today, Wednesday, for further deliberations. Meanwhile, we know that the Zamfara state governor, who was still with the PDP as of last week, has now defected to the All Progressives Congress, and the PDP are now left with just two governors, Bauchi State Governor Bala Mohammed and Oyo State Governor Sheyi Makinde, who are both in their second tenures as governors and will be passing the baton to someone else in 2027. So yes, the PDP, if this is where they are, once a formidable party, from 1999 to 2014-15 was still very relevant, but now after the 2023 elections, we've seen how everything has gone downhill for the People's Democratic Party. And people who are onlookers are saying, if the People's Democratic Party are this badly dealt, going into 2027, who and what is the main opposition party, who is the main opposition, or who are the main opposition figures, and how will 2027 play out if this trend continues? Join us in the conversation this morning. Let's see what we can interpret.
Joining us this morning, we have a veteran journalist, a communication expert, and a public affairs analyst, Mr. Emeka Odom. Good morning, Mr. Emeka. Thank you for joining us.
Good morning, and thanks for having me. Good morning to our listeners.
Good morning, Mr. Emeka Odom. Thank you for joining us. The PDP seems to be in dire straits at this point in time, although there is the possibility of appealing the judgment of the appeal court at the Supreme Court, and I think that's part of the options that the BOT will be weighing, continuing their meeting today. What are your thoughts about the trajectory of the People's Democratic Party? Would everybody or anybody have seen this coming, that the People's Democratic Party will be at this difficult position that they are in now in the year 2026 elections and next year? What are your thoughts about what has happened with the PDP?
Okay, yeah, thank you so much. Quite frankly, I do not think anybody who has been following events in Nigeria, the political events in Nigeria, should be so much surprised at what is happening. In fact, if you ask me, I'll tell you that most of the predictions that people have given concerning PDP have all come to pass. Well, unfortunately so, they have all come to pass because those who have been following events saw this coming. And of course, those of us who have opportunity to speak, on radio like this, we analyze issues, and we also said, look, it seems to be the pathway to progress for PDP, but unfortunately, no, they wouldn't do that line because sometimes in this sense, a lot of interest, overrides collective goal. You see, some people have also said that PDP began to die immediately after or rather, at the time they chose to, you know, nominate Alhaji Atiku Abubakar as their presidential candidate in, you know, for the 2023 general elections. Well, if you probably look at it and analyze it, depending on, you know, how you want to look at it, you could say that yes, there's an element of truth in that. But for me, my issue is anybody can make a mistake. Parties can make a mistake. I remember that, you know, the Southern governors came together in Asaba sometime was it in 2021 or 2022, and made a resolve that the next president after President Muhammadu Buhari of blessed memory should come from the southern part of the country to continue with the trajectory of, you know, north-south understanding. And in those southern governors, many of them were from the PDP stock. They were all there, you know, including the man who eventually became the vice presidential candidate to Atiku Abubakar and the host of that meeting, who is today in APC. You know, they were all there in that meeting, and but unfortunately, at their convention ground, they decided to vote to choose Alhaji Atiku Abubakar. Some sections of the country felt betrayed at that, you know. Look at the Southeast, for instance. This is a region that since 1999, you could say they've given PDP their all. I mean, they are very all. And naturally, like they would tell you, politics is about give and take. So at the time, they expected, you know, PDP to also reward that loyalty and commitment with the presidential candidate, more so as the Southeast at that time had viable candidates, you know, that could fly the party's flag. But that didn't come. So a lot of people ascribe what is happening to PDP today as having begun at that point. But whatever may be the case, I also personally I think that PDP should have risen above that incident, because as an organization, of course they will make their mistakes. Individuals do, nations do, every entity does. But what do you do after the mistake? That is the most important thing. PDP should have risen above that. And that is why, for me, everybody who has been a leader in PDP, past and present, everybody who has been elected on the part of PDP, whether you are still in the party now or you're not in the party, for me, they should take responsibility for what is happening to PDP today. Because when you ride at the back, you know, at the back of a party to get to a particular office or to achieve any feat, it's incumbent on you to also help in resolving the issue. Of course, they may come here to say, well, they tried. Yes, they tried, but, you know, are you saying the problem of PDP is beyond redemption? I don't think so. Even as we speak today, PDP is not finished. They may have gone down, quite frankly, because if you look at PDP, the role they played beginning, like you said, from 1999, this was a party that, you know, at a point had to pride itself as, you know, with the ambition of being in power for 60 years. Of course, you know, that's a very tall order. But you see, you should also know that a party has not won presidential election or has not won governorship election does not mean that the party is finished. After all, there are too many parties in Nigeria today who haven't even won anything, and they're still existing. So if you look at PDP from that perspective, to say this is a party that used to control so number of governors in Nigeria, like APC is controlling 31 today, PDP used to control, you know, something similar, and compared to the fact that there are only 2 governors left today, or you take it from 2023, there were about 11 or 12 governors, and today they are left 2. Yes, you could look at it to say, yeah, PDP is facing a very serious problem. Yes, how has the mighty fallen? But if you also look at it from the perspective of the fact that there are also other parties who haven't even produced a governor and still making waves. So it's an opportunity for them. No matter what they are going through today, we will still repeat the same advice we gave to them. Look, long before now, for me, you know, in this particular program and in other programs, I had said that PDP should forget 2027 presidential election. I said this long before now. Should forget 2027 presidential election and begin to build and resuscitate themselves, re-engineer themselves, restructure themselves to become more formidable in the years ahead.
So for 2027 is gone for the People's Democratic
Yes,
Party.
that was what I said it before now, even before we got to where we are today, because I saw the way things were happening. You see, you need to study first and foremost. Why did we say so? We looked at the characters of those who were at the forefront of the battle for the soul of PDP. We studied them, their trajectory, who they were. See, in theater arts, for if you ask people who study theater arts or people who study literature a lot, they will tell you that they study what is called special characters in drama, right?
Yeah.
When you look at drama, is full of conflict. So when you take a particular dramatic scenario, you study the conflict that's in that drama. You look at the characters that are projected, the protagonists, the antagonists, and all the other supporting characters. And you study their characters, dissect it, and you'll be able to tell where the conflict will go in. Whether it's a conflict that will be resolved along the line, or a conflict that will end in tragedy. You will know if you understand that very clearly. So, using the political scenario as a drama of life, we studied the characters that were involved, and we looked at their trajectory to say, look, these people, they don't go here, they know they here. Right? These are not people that will stop midway. They are the people. Many of them will push their point to the same way now. When the Ibadan Convention came, I told folks when we were some of my journalist friends when we were discussing the matter, I told them that PDP may want to push the Turaki faction may want to push to the Supreme Court level. And I was not surprised immediately after the appeal court judgment, the Turaki faction said they were heading to the Supreme Court. Right? Now the thing is this. We knew that they were going to fight, and time does not wait for anybody. You have only a 4-year cycle after an election for the next election. In fact, very serious political parties, the moment you finish an election, you start working for the next election. In 2015, after Muhammadu Buhari won his election, and you saw the election at that point in time, that they didn't quite get much. APC didn't get much in the southeast, right? Yeah. Even though we had a sitting governor at that time in Imo State, Rochas Okorocha, who was an APC governor. Then I was in Abuja. We were having at the chapel when we were discussing having a program. I told them that look, that if APC intends to reap in the southeast, because from all indications in all the regions they scored their worst result came from the southeast. We said, look, if APC intends to reap anything in the southeast, let them not assume a posture of these people are not for us. Let them begin work immediately, that in the next 10 to 15 years, that the table may turn. As if somebody heard me that time. Today, what are we seeing today? So you see, these things have modalities. If you understand them, you understand them. They are very strategic in nature. So the PDP, I'm not surprised that PDP is where it is today. And quite frankly, like you said, we have 2 governors yet standing. And all kinds of rumors are even surrounding those 2 governors. So even before the election proper come, you might still have, even though these governors are not going to contest election again as governors, you may be surprised also to wake up one morning to hear that one of them has also, chosen another.
Which one of them? Because they've both sworn not to leave the PDP. They are working with the BOT to try to resuscitate.
See, I'm so surprised that you're still holding on to what politicians tell you in name of swear in Nigeria.
No, because these are like main characters.
What have you not heard? What have you not heard politicians
in
speak?
fight of the People's Democratic Party? So
what have we not heard politicians say in Nigeria? And what have you not seen them do the contrary in Nigeria? Tell me what politicians have said in Nigeria and that they have not done the contrary.
So you feel they may go back to the
that doesn't hold water. These are all political statements. One of them, a politician said that, a promise is like a wind. In politics, it changes direction as the geography unfolds, right? So that is the way it is, and that's why they also tell you no permanent enemy. So even if you say call this man today that is your enemy, tomorrow you wake up tomorrow morning, 2 of you look at what is happening in Zamfara State now. Before now, the governor and the former governor, the current is it the Minister of State for Defense? The man he defeated at the election now. Matawale himself, you know, they were almost at you know, but today they are not. He was the first to congratulate him when we heard that he has joined the APC. So that is the nature, that is the character. So, but you see, the most important thing is this. Why it is very unfortunate is that, you see, democracy is supposed to be, why it is called the best form of government is not because angels come to practice democracy. It's not because once you practice democracy, oh, it's El Dorado, the entire country becomes like heaven. No. There are things that mark it out as the best form of government. One of them is, number one, it gives the real custodians of power the opportunity to choose their leaders from an array of alternatives. Right? It's a very important component of democracy. If you run a democracy like they do in China, it's only one party that has opportunity to produce, you know, that's registered and has opportunity to. Now, I'm not saying that only one party is registered in Nigeria, but when you say you are running a multi-party democracy, but, you know, other things are done to completely frustrate and disempower the other political parties, render them, you know, push them to a point where they become, you know, not capable of even raising their finger, and all opportunities are monopolized on a single lane. For me, how viable is that democracy? Now, again, also, that is not to say that anybody is doing PDP, but we are playing politics. And the reason why I don't want to throw that line is not because I do not know. Politicians are good themselves. It's just like you are in a football pitch. Do you understand? Now, the opponent can, if you look at your point man, if you look at the point man of the opponent, the man that's likely to score the most devastating goal that will knock you out of the competition, you could go for his legs. Your defenders can go for his legs, and by the time he steps out of the pitch, at least the next man that is coming may not be as dangerous as him, right? You can contend with next man. So these things happen, but of course, that is not an excuse why you lost them, why the other team will lose the game. So for me, PDP should get their house. They should get their acts together.
All right. You said a lot of things. I love the analogy you gave about, you know, characters in theater and all of that. You know, interesting. But you also said that the PDP should forget about 2027. And 2027 is important to Nigerians and those who are seeking alternatives to the All Progressives Congress in 2027. The National Publicity Secretary of the PDP, Inyem Embong, spoke to journalists after the meeting that they held in Bauchi State Government Lodge yesterday. And they said that the focus is on how to ensure that the People's Democratic Party does not die, and that the opposition party is on the ballot for the 2027 polls. Given what we now know about the electoral acts that was rejigged and the deadlines that are there, you know, April 23rd to May 30th, I think that's when primaries are supposed to hold. Online registrations are also supposed to happen. I don't know how far the People's Democratic Party has gone, you know, in the mix of all of these conflicts that they've had so far. So does that mean that you think that the People's Democratic Party will not be able to meet what the stipulations of the Electoral Act have, you know, or the stipulations of the Electoral Act is at this point in time, giving deadlines that they have to